to Bizemag podcast and Tim Milanson today. We are business strategy e-magazine and law strategic advisors who are producing this podcast service so that we can invite entrepreneurs, startup owners, and expert professionals from worldwide to our audience who are young executives and B school students and startup enthusiasts to understand and get some knowledge and tips and inspiration from these successful entrepreneurs. Today's guest is Tim Milanson, who is a successful entrepreneur and startup owner of a web development professional company, and he also runs a very popular podcast. So I'll briefly introduce him to my audience. Tim Milanson graduated with a degree in computer science from the University of New Brunswick, Canada in the year 2000. Am I right, Tim?
That's correct.
While working as a software developer for a large telecom company for 8 years, Tim was playing music in local bands on the side. When his company closed its doors and Tim found himself without a job, he decided to start his own business as a technical support consultant. After several different businesses in sales and marketing, as well as in IT, Tim found his perfect fit as a website developer and founder of Creative Few Agency. His agency is one-stop shop online business support agency, providing graphic design, website implementation, and ongoing support for online businesses. Tim's goal is to help people transition from a job to a business. He's also the host of Work at Home Rockstar podcast, which is a resource to help people start and grow their home businesses. You can follow him on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and find his interesting podcast episodes there. So, welcome, Tim, to this episode of Bizemag podcast. And we are thankful to you to give your time in such a busy, hectic schedule to come online with us. Tim, I would suggest, why don't you tell something about yourself to our audience in your own words?
Well, thank you first for having me on the podcast. And that's a great introduction. You make me sound great. So something about myself. So I guess the main thing for me, the reason why I even started a business in the first place is that I remember, working in a cubicle and, following the script, of go get a job, work for a big company. I actually, the company I was working for was one of the largest companies in Canada at the time, and they ended up going bankrupt. But I remember when I decided that I was going to, not go get another job and work for myself, and people thought that that was very risky. And I remember just my mindset was very different. I thought to myself, well, I just lost my client and lost my income. So, that sounds pretty risky to me if I go get another job. Whereas if I go and start a business, well, now I'm going out there and I'm finding a whole bunch of different clients. And so I thought to myself, if I lose one of those clients, well, then that's just a little part of my income. And I still have so many more other clients that I can work with. So for me, I felt like that was a less risky path. Now, I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more about it. There was a lot of challenges that I had to overcome in the process because running a business is not very simple. There's a lot to it. However, if you're the type that, doesn't mind, getting out there and hustling and, working for yourself and being in control of your own time, then it's definitely for you. So, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I understand, Tim. Definitely running business and starting business is not a cakewalk at all. So Tim, tell about your business, what all you do, what are the, UPS of your business and how it does benefit people.
So, so my business, my main, focus in terms of business is my creative crew agency. So what we're doing here is, we're basically building websites. However, we do everything. I've got, a graphic designer that will do all the layouts for a new website. And then I build the website, and then I support the website. Also, I can even host the website. So, we're just like a one-stop shop for everything to do with the website. Now, the reason why I feel like we've got a bit of an edge is because, with my experience over the years, I've done more than just IT. I've done a lot of sales and marketing. I used to work for I used to be self-employed, I guess, for a network marketing company, grew a giant team with that. And so, just with all that sales experience and understanding how to reach people online, it offers a bit of an edge for someone who wants to build a website, because oftentimes when you're looking to find somebody to build a website for you, they're very technical or they're very creative. But when it comes to the marketing and sales side of it, they don't really understand what you're trying to accomplish. So you end up having to either know it all yourself, or you're hiring a coach trying to communicate what the coach is telling to you, to the web developer. And so, that's where our edge would be that, listen, you don't need to go and do all that stuff. I'm actually going to ask you those questions. Part of my first initial interview is talking about your niche market and who your target market is and who you're trying to reach, and then trying to help you to develop your content to reach the target audience that you're trying to reach.
Correct. And I do understand, your job technically is technical, definitely highly technical, and you are a computer science graduate. You understand that part very well. But on the other hand, it is creative. It is like you were saying. And when I got my website design, I generally design my websites on my own. But one main website of my business, I got some web developer company in my area to design. And, while I was telling them, what do I want out of it? It was like designing a home. It was like, I was feeling I'm actually creating a virtual office via my website. And when after I got it made and I launched it, actually I sent out an invitation of home warming, kind of, like you do housewarming functions. So I said, you are invited to housewarming of my virtual office, because my virtual office is website. That's where you get all my services, all my contact ideas. What do I do? Where do I can help you? And the way it should look, the way the content should be approachable by the people, should be understood by the target people. So it is, the website designing is very, very crucial for the businesses to be successful. Nowadays, digital platform is the foremost platform to contact people. That is so very true. Nobody like me also, if I want to buy something, I would not like to throng the markets anymore. I would like, it will take so much of efforts and time and energy to move out to the market. Rather, let me find out online. If I get the choice of my product or services and will call, they are just a call or email away. But obviously the website and its content attracts you. The way they should. That is so very
exactly.
true. And you are in a very crucial business, I must say, and very, very significant in current times when everything is going digital and current. So all the startup owners there who are listening to this podcast, I would say spend some money and invest how you make your website more influential in attracting the businesses. And Tim is one of them.
Yeah, and I've got some advice on that. And this is something to kind of just keep in mind in the entire process, is that a lot of people, when they are getting ready to write their website, it's all about them. It's all about what they think they want other people to know about them. And it's a great example for me. So I'm a tech person. I have a degree in computer science. So if I were to put my resume, all the computer languages that I know, onto a website and I'm trying to get a client, to hire me, how would that work? Like, they would read all these things and it would just be garbage to them. They wouldn't even understand what I'm trying to say. So, the one thing to make sure that you're keeping in mind is that your client is looking to hire you for your expertise. They don't want to know exactly what you're going to do. in order to get that job done because they can't understand it. Otherwise, they would just do it themselves. So what I found is that when I was first starting and I was trying to get clients for my IT business, I was talking to other IT people who would never hire me. They understood my resume, but if you have to flip it around and say, okay, what does the business owner, what's the problem that you're about to solve, right? And so, in my case with a website, the problem that I want to solve is I want to give a client a, whatever type of website they want, either a platform for them to be, maybe like a business card type website where someone's going to learn more. Maybe it's a place like a hub for someone to buy something. Maybe it's a shop, right? So they're going to buy something. So what's the end goal of what you are trying to provide to the market? And that's the lens you want to look at it through. And, less content is more, right? Be very, very brief with what you're trying to say, because people don't have a whole lot of time and a whole lot of attention span. So definitely, when you're looking to get that website done and to get that online store done, like the first thing I would say is not necessarily start with your website, start with getting some sales, and then ask your clients what they got out of it. And then in their words, you could take that onto your website and say, okay, client A said, I just felt so much more comfortable with my direction because of how working with this person. That would be what you'd want to put on your website, rather than I helped them with this method and this method and this method. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. It makes sense. So website designing is not just a technical work. It includes a lot of thinking process, creative process, and experience. The way Tim has over the clients, different kind of clients, different kind of businesses.
Yeah.
So Tim, you were saying in your introduction that there were so many challenges that you faced while you started and developed this business. So how would you talk about them and tell some lessons to our audience that how to overcome those challenges or maybe avoid?
Yeah, I asked the same question in my podcast, and now I'm recognizing how hard it is because there are so many things to choose from. Like, I mean, the practical one. I'll start with there. Like, when you're working for a company, there's not a whole lot of thinking about what your day is going to look like, right? Because you show up at the office, your boss gives you something to do, and off you do it, and then you go home. I suppose, it isn't that simple. Sometimes people take work home with them and all that stuff. But when you start a business, the main challenge that I found was that I'm an IT person. I'm good with IT. So I thought, I'm great at what I do, so I'll be able to start a business and everything will be great. But then you realize that a good 80% of running a business is not what you're good at. It's the other stuff. It's the sales and the marketing and the cash flow and the accounting and the customer service. There's so much more to running a business than it is just doing it what it is that you need to do. So now, that being said, I think the best way that I've been able to do, like whenever my business is going in stagnant, I guess, one of the strategies that I've used over and over again is that I go onto my social media and I look for people who are in my local area that have similar business interests as me. And I reach out to them. I send them a message and I say, hey, I can remember one for specifically, there was a book. I don't know if you ever heard of John C. Maxwell. He's a leadership coach, but he's big. And there's a lot of people that follow him. And so I went and I looked for people on my social media that actually like that book. And I connected with a few people and I said, hey, I see that you like John C. Maxwell. We have some things in common. I wonder if you'd be open to going out for a coffee. And of course, nowadays it's even easier with Zoom. but I mean, you'll find that there are people out there in the business community that are a lot more helpful than you think they might be. You think that they might be like, oh, they're why would they waste their time with me? And hey, sure, they might be too busy for that. But I've always found that a few people will take me up on that offer. And, I go out and I ask them how their business is going, and it just always ends up being something that just boosts my business. Either they might be a client for me, or they may know some people that are clients for me, but just putting your energy out there and saying, hey, I want to connect with people that are like-minded to me. It has always gotten me out of those little funks that have happened over time. And they do happen from time to time. Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, you're right, Tim, that sometimes these kinds, and networking always helps in businesses. Networking always, it's not only getting client, it's also getting knowledge. It's also getting, updates. Maybe something's latest is going on in the market, which you get to know while networking with people and knowing and talking to them. It helps a lot. Uh,
Yeah.
and so my next question would be how people can contact you when they need.
Oh.
And second would be tell us something about your podcast also, how the idea came up.
Yes. Okay. So the best way to contact me, actually, my name, Tim Milanson. It's just TimMelanson. You can look me up on all the social media platforms and you'll find me. But my podcast specifically is called the Work at Home Rockstar Podcast. And all you need to do is just go workathomerockstar.com and you'll find me there. So the podcast itself, I started that podcast really because of the many challenges that I've just talked about, right? About how, when you start a business, there's a lot of things that kind of catch you off balance. And so I wanted to be able to be a resource for people that wanted to quit that job and start their business. Because what I found is that as time went on and, I was self-employed at first, everybody thought that I was crazy and that, it wasn't going to work. And eventually, I'm just going to go get a job. But then I didn't. And I kept on going and I kept on finding new things. And, it was up and down. There was a lot of, very successful years and there was some really, really poor years. But, I was consistently moving in a good direction. And I found that people around me were always complaining about their jobs and complaining about what was going on. And I thought, well, why don't you start a business? Well, I don't know what to do. So I decided to start the Work at Home Rockstar podcast. And I reached out and I put it out there and I said, anybody who's working from home and they pay their bills with their business, I'll interview you. And now I'm coming up on, I think, 150 episodes. I started the podcast in 2015 and I took a break for a while and then started it back up when the pandemic hit because there was a lot more people that are working from home. And the interviews are just great. I mean, you were a guest, actually, you were going to be coming out on an episode soon. So by the time this interview airs, well, then your episode will already be out, so we'll be able to find you. But
yeah, I'm
it's
eagerly
been
waiting for that.
Yeah, it's just been such a great experience because number one, it's awesome for me because I get the opportunity to meet people like you that have done what a lot of people want to do is start that business from home, get it running, get it successful, and I get to get that inspiration regularly. But also there's just so many different types of businesses that people run. And it is such a great way for someone who's maybe working that job and they're like, oh, I don't feel as safe as I think I should, because nowadays, I mean, no job is safe as we've seen from the pandemic. So, being in control of your own future is definitely a good idea. And so I find that, going through some of these episodes and even just scanning through on the website and going, wow, okay, look at all these different types of jobs that I could do. Hopefully, everybody can say, hey, that person I align with. Listen to that episode, find out what that person's doing, and maybe that's a path that you can go and take. But yeah, I've got a new ebook coming out very shortly called the Work at Home Rockstar Formula. And what that is it's 7 steps of areas that you can do to actually improve every part of that business. And it'll really give you a good start if you're getting ready to get started. And if you already have a successful business, it'll tell you where you need to improve. So I'm looking forward to that.
Best wishes for that. That seems so inspiring. And I think it would be a very great knowledge resource to the other entrepreneurs and startup enthusiasts. So thank you, Tim. Anything else that you would like to share with our audience who would like to start up some business, like in the similar boat?
Yeah, the last advice is just get started. I mean, you're going to make some mistakes. We know that. Don't worry about it. Just get started, because what will happen, and everybody is in the same boat, is that once they finally start that business, they look back and they say, yeah, I did some things wrong, but if there's one thing I could do differently, is I would have started earlier. So just get off the fence and get started. I mean, there's no mistake that you can make that you cannot recover from. You will be able to recover from it, especially if you're listening to great podcasts like this, which will give you inspiration and knowledge and keep you going on your journey. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for having me on the show as well.
Thank you so much, Tim. It was a pleasure to talk to you and get to know about you, your business, and so many other things, how to run business and how to, keep moving on, despite all the challenges, all the ups and downs of the businesses that do happen.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.